this lesson, I'm going to show you how to play Alasal's beautiful opening track, 1553. This was a request from one of my Patreon supporters, Raul, and I'm going to do this lesson a little bit different to my usual way. I'm just going to divide it into 4 sections. I'm going to play a section and then we'll look over anything that I think you need to pay more attention to, any unusual bits. So without further ado, let's hear the intro. As always, tabs are available for my Patreon supporters to download, so if you'd like to get hold of the PDF, you know where to find them. I've written this in C# minor, and generally everything is C# minor, but every now and then he plays the major third of C#, so we kind of slip into a D flat major kind of sound, but it's only for a bar at a time. So to avoid cluttering it with accidentals, I've just written it in C# minor. We start with a 1-bar bass intro. And then we come in the start of bar 2 with this arpeggiated. Now I'm using, this is a finger song, so thumb and index middle ring. And we just arpeggiate it like that. So not simultaneous, slightly staggered. Then we've got this. Now I'm drawing your attention to this because it's not just, there's actually, you can just hear on the B string this sort of unintentional, or it might be intentional, pull off. So he's playing this 7 on B, and then when he goes to the E string, his index finger is actually covering the 4th fret on both strings. So you get this pull off kind of thing. Here there's 2 notes. Then we've got another arpeggiated thing. Simple little scale rundown. And a lot of this, he's playing really light and very rarely digs in. And timing wise, this is accurate, but it's a guide. He plays behind quite a lot. So, you know, that first note of bar 4 is probably not bang on beat 1. It's ever so slightly late. At the end of bar 4, we've got this pull-off thing. Going into bar 5, not that tricky. At the end of bar 5, we've got this 4 and then that note, the G sharp, rings through as I go at the start of bar 6. So it sounds like this. Bar 10 is where we get this kind of major sound temporarily coming in. And again, it's an arpeggiated chord. So I'm going thumb, index, middle, ring, and just firing through like that, nice and soft. So the bass is playing a D flat or a C sharp. Mark Spear's doing this chord. So we get a D flat 9 sound or a C sharp 9 sound. We then have the first bit of vibrato just on that F sharp note. So it goes. Bar 11's worth looking at. We're going. You can see on the sheet music how that E note that starts the bar is tied through. So he doesn't go, you know, it's not monophonic, it's polyphonic. At the end of bar 11, we've got this rundown So it's the first time we've had plucked 16ths. And what I would advise when you do 2 consecutive 16ths on the same string is use 2 digits this side. Don't try and pluck 2 notes in a row on the same string. Now at this speed it's doable, but it's easier to just go, like I would go thumb, index, thumb, index. Mark Spear tends to play more with his middle, so he'd go thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, middle, and then thumb ends it off. Bar 12, again we have this kind of chord building, so we go. So I'm going thumb, thumb, index, and then middle and ring together. And you can see the 2nd fret of the B string I've written as a ghost note, just because that 4th fret of the E string is the one that's really popping out for me. Then we've got, so we go slide, thumb, index, thumb. Into bar 13, and again we have this chord texture building. So that's going thumb, index, middle and ring. And that's staccato, that one. Straight into an arpeggiated, what looks like a B major triad. Then we've got like that. Bar 14 is interesting because again we have to kind of hold on to some notes. So we start with this, and that 3rd fret of the D string continues to ring through the 2 4s. So we go, I don't go like that, it's, then we hit the 4th fret of the D, hit those 2 notes, change the D string note, but I'm still holding on to those 2 notes on the G and B strings, so it goes like that. Grace note hammer on. Here's another thing to pay attention to, a couple of staccato notes coming up. So that's bar 16, so we've got more staccato. Another staccato note, and then another arpeggiated triad there. Okay, now let's hear bars 20 through 35. Bar 20 kicks off with more arpeggiated triad things, then a little scale run, and again we've got consecutive 16ths on the same string, so alternate digits. Bar 23 is interesting, so let's have a look at that. I'll be hitting the first note, B, with my pinky because I'm coming up from that run, and then I jump over and I do a 2 and 2 and then 3 and on that 2nd fret of the D string. So it goes. Then we got this. At the end of bar 25, I've written it like this. Quite clean. But it actually, it sounds more like he's going like that. So once I've played that 4 with the ghost note on 2, sounds like he's doing an almost unintentional pull-off maybe, before plucking the 4th fret of the G string. So instead of sound like this, it kind of sounds like this. You can try that if you want. Bar 29 into 30 is worth looking at. So we end bar 29 with this. Now notice I didn't go and then use my index. I used, and I shifted my hand back, because in a second you're going to have to do a pull off like that. So, and then I hit that little triad really quietly. The rhythm at the end of bar 35 is probably worth just having a little look at. It's probably one of the more difficult rhythms in this whole song. So we've got, on 1 we play this, on the and of 2 we hit this 4th fret, on the and of 3 we hit the 4th fret of the G, on the E of 4 we play that, and on the out of 4 play that A note. So it goes like that. Okay, let's hear bars 36 through 51. Okay, the first few bars of this section are relatively easy, so I'm just going to skip through them. Bar 40 is interesting because again we have some of this textural kind of thing going on where he's keeping the note ringing while the others move. So I play the 9th fret of the D, B, and then I hit the C sharp. Now when I play this A, I don't stop that C sharp, I let it continue ringing, so it goes. I then hit that C sharp again, and that A continues ringing until the G sharp on the D string gets played, and that G sharp on the G string is still ringing. So it goes. Bar 41, nothing really to mention other than again you got a couple of consecutive 16ths, so alternate those digits. Bar 41 into 42 is interesting because we've got a tied note going through the bar and ringing while another note gets plucked. So it goes. Should sound like that. 9, 6, 7. You can still hear that 6th fret ringing. Not like that. As we get into sort of bar 43 onwards, again these consecutive 16ths get a lot more frequent, so alternate the digits in the right hand. That's pretty much it for those bars. So let's have a listen to bar 52 to the end of the song, and then we'll have a look at anything that needs extra attention. Bar 52 starts with this note, C sharp, and it's one of the rare times that he really gets vibrato going in this song. And also live, I think it's where he takes his pick out of his scratch plate, pick guard, and starts using a pick. And I think he turns his volume up as well to kind of to drive the amp more and get a bit more gain. By the way, when I'm playing this, my volume is down to about 5 or 6 just to warm it up a little bit. And I think he's doing similar. Bar 53, I've written a little note that says pull off is slightly quicker than a 16th. So I could have been really pedantic and worked out exactly what the subdivision was, but I think he's sort of just feeling this. But he kind of goes like that, and you can hear a lot of the other notes that in the studio version he's done 16ths. Live, he does stuff similar to like that, and so he's just playing with time, you know, so it's basically a couple of 16ths. At the end of bar 54, we get this beautiful cascading melody with this high held note. So on the and of 3 in bar 54, we're playing this C sharp. And then I dig in a bit more to this 9th fret of the B string. And you can see that's tied. And then in bar 55, I pick that again on the and. And then it goes. Beautiful. And that pinky on the G sharp note, the 9th fret of the B string, does not let go until I hit this A note on the D string. So I'll go from the and of bar 54. 1, 2, 3. Then we have a similar sort of thing going on in bar 56. So basically, once a note gets plucked, we don't stop it ringing until we pluck that same string again. There's the simplest way you could put it, really. So they're both, those two notes now, the 6th fret of G and the 7th fret of D, are now ringing until I play that 6th fret of D. When it goes back to monophonic. The next few bars are pretty straightforward, and then the tempo drops right back down. Bar 60, we're back on this arpeggiated D flat 9 or C sharp 9, and in a live setting, I think this is where he puts his pick back in the little holder and he goes back to fingers. And then we've got that vibrato on the F sharp on D. At the end of bar 61, I've written it as a slide, like that, 2 to 1. I've watched him play it live and he definitely uses his index for both notes, so the question is just whether he's picking both of them, like that, or whether he's... I've gone with a slide. Bar 63 starts like this. And then on beat 4 we've got this incredibly faint. If you can't hear it, trust me, I'm 99% sure it's there. So, like that. And that immediately flows into that. Similar stuff. Again, letting those notes ring, build that texture. Nice little 8th note triplet. And then we just got more of these single note lines. It carries on in that way until bar 72, which goes like this. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. A massive thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Your support makes all those hours of editing seem that little bit less painful, so thank you very much. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you'd like to support the channel, link to my Patreon is below. Thanks again for watching. I'll leave you now with the full song. See you next time.